What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F1 22 for My Team Career Mode Season 1, round number 6, the Spanish Grand Prix. So here in Spain, Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, it's a track that in the 2021 game, as if you guys have seen my 2021 videos, I seem to struggle quite a lot around here. However, the track is quite a bit different in this year's game, as we actually, this time around, we have finally got to choose our rival. We've got Ricciardo, Norris and Ocon to choose from. We're going to go with Daniel Ricciardo, as then we go for some upgrades. A couple of upgrades unfortunately failed, so we're going to have to redevelop those and then probably put a couple of new ones on the car. But yeah, we seem to really struggle here on the previous game. In this game though, well, first of all, the AI difficulty seems to be a bit more, from what I've realised anyway, with the tracks that I've done so far, the variation of AI difficulty has not changed a whole lot. I've literally changed like 2 difficulty points between tracks, whereas in the previous game, you know, I was going 5 or 6 points at some points. So that's something interesting to think of. And also, this track this year is slightly different. Of course, the section that I'm coming up to now in this autocross Pirelli hot lap event, which we're not going to get to the corner, but it is a different corner now at the end of that straight. So that could potentially change things up here as well. As we look at R&D, and we're pretty much still right there with Aston Martin and AlphaTauri, actually. A big cluster there, a big little cluster, what is that about? Then you've got a massive cluster up ahead of us, kind of the midfield pack of Haas, Alfa Romeo, McLaren are now in that pack, so they've kind of gotten away from us. And then looking here at our engine parts, we are going to be taking a whole new set of everything this race, because we're not going to make it to the end of the season without taking at least one of, I'm pretty sure, every single component. So we're going to take a whole splatter of components this time out and be starting from the back of the grid. So qualifying, unfortunately, did not make it through to Q2, but like I said, wasn't really expecting it because this has never been one of my better tracks. But like I was saying before, it does seem to be, the AI, at least for me, the difficulty seems to be a bit more kind of normalized and equalized in this game. I've heard the opposite thing from other people, but for me, the AI on this game, I seem to have the difficulty quite a bit lower than I did in F1 2021, but between tracks, the difficulty seems pretty much universal, so that's a good thing. But we head down this kind of middle straight here, and this is where the new part of the track is. So instead, when you still go left around here, but instead you now do a big kind of long sweeping left hand corner instead of, you know, this really tricky left right up this bit here that we had last year and we've had in the past at this track. And that was a part of the track that I did struggle with last year, so maybe that has helped this year with my pace being a little bit better. One thing you do have to be careful of is the sausage curbs on the outsides of these corners, because in that second to last corner you can hit that sausage curb and it will pretty much just bottom out your car and you'll spin round. Happened to me a couple of times, so you got to be careful of that. We ended up qualifying P19, so it's actually not great, to be honest. We're ahead of our teammate. It doesn't really matter anyway though, because we're starting at the back of the grid no matter what. So let's get going for the Spanish Grand Prix.
Welcome then to what promises to be another fascinating Spanish Grand Prix, a race which saw Max Verstappen take victory on his first ever appearance with the Red Bull team in 2016 after the dramatic coming together of Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. Will we see more moments for the scrapbook here today? It's a sellout crowd of 140,000 here today as we await lights out for the 730-metre sprint into Turn 1. This is a 2.9-mile racetrack. Overtaking is challenging through these 16 corners, but there's still a lot of high-speed excitement to be found, including the flat-out Turn 3 and the terrifying blind right of Turn 9. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. It's Carlos Sainz in pole position, Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Hamilton, George Russell, and Perez, Bottas, Mick Schumacher, Fernando Alonso, and Kevin Magnussen, Ricciardo, Ocon, Guan Yu Zhou, and Gasly, Vettel, Tsunoda, Lance Stroll, and Liam Lawson, Albon, Norris. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Latifi and Shaw. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. With me today, of course, is Natalie Pinkham. Let's start with Alfa Romeo. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within the team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do. And that has definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Alright, so it is formation lap time in Spain, and we are right at the back of the grid for, I think, the first time this season. I don't think we've ever been right at the back. We've got Latifi for company on the back row. Lando Norris also towards the back here because of a grid penalty, so that's interesting. Of course, we're kind of in a fight with McLaren in the constructors at the moment, although I expect McLaren to overtake us and get a fair way ahead because their pace is improving for sure. But here we go to 5 red lights for the first ever Spanish Grand Prix on F1 22, and it's lights out and it's underway pretty quickly here. Very quick lights out, and we get a decent enough start, but it's not amazing. Second phase though is pretty good as Latifi blocks us off into turn 1, goes defensive. We try and go around the outside of him in through turn 1, but we're just getting a little bit caught up here. Don't want to make any contact. I'm right at the back of the grid here. We can potentially make up some positions when drivers ahead make contact with each other and have to come into the pits. So we're just going to take it fairly easy at the start here. It looks like my teammate has actually had a really good start. He's up, I don't know, in like P12, P13. So it's been a great start from my teammate Liam Lawson, as Latifi looking for a move on Stroll, but we're going to dive up the inside of Latifi as he is pretty slow into this corner side by side as we come down the hill here up to the uphill section, and we're just going to try and keep the position right here. He's going to try and keep it around the outside. We're going to give him the room, but we're going to get the better traction off that corner and around the quick right hand corner, which is a corner that we really struggled with in the previous game. Once again, it seems to be a little bit more forgiving in this game, so that is one thing I'm really enjoying, and we've managed to get past the Williams of Nicholas Latifi, and we now have the other Williams of Alexander Albon in front of us. Of course, we're in somewhat of a battle with Williams this season. They've not scored any points yet, but yeah, we are somewhat in a battle with them. We seem to be racing them quite a lot this season. Same goes for Aston Martin, who their 2 drivers are just up ahead, Stroll and Vettel. So we're all very much here at the back of the grid. But like I said, my teammate Liam Lawson actually doing a really good job at the moment. Fernando Alonso, though, into the pits after lap 1. He's the first driver to pick up wing damage, so that is not a good start once again for him. As we have a look further up the grid at the other Alpine of Esteban Ocon, he's going for a move on Kevin Magnussen in the Haas, and he is just ahead of my teammate actually, and you can see how well my teammate is doing. But these two going side by side right here, Ocon trying to make some moves. That Alpine has potentially fallen down the pecking order a little bit these last couple of races. Went from being like the 4th quickest car on the grid to possibly the 6th or 7th now, but he's managed to get past the Haas of Kevin Magnussen, and that brings him up another position now behind the McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo, as there are some moves going on behind as well, but things pretty much staying as they were at the moment. We're continuing on, just following this train up ahead of us of Albon and the 2 Aston Martins, and we've still got Latifi behind us. He's not putting in too much of a threat, but the problem at the moment is that we just don't have the pace to overtake, and we're kind of stuck in a DRS train at the moment. So we're just having to stay behind Albon and just, you know, do what we can, stay close enough, and kind of watch out for an opportunistic moment, watch out for a mistake from the drivers ahead. As we now have a look at my teammate Liam Lawson, he had a great start, and he is slowly now starting to slow down a little bit as Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri goes for a move on him round turn kind of 3 there, but Lawson isn't going to give this one up. He's going to try and go round the outside of the next corner. He's just about overtaken, but he's going to keep his foot in, and he's going to dive up the inside into the next corner. He's really giving this a good fight. Awesome to see from my teammate. We haven't seen an amazing racing from him so far, and he's still giving it everything as they go too wide up the hill here. Very scary place to go too wide, and unfortunately he has to back out this time around, and he now now has a McLaren behind him, but yeah, he's doing a very good job, and now he's actually under pressure from that McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo, who's going to try and go around the outside of the new long left-hand corner, and he's doing a great job here, and so is my teammate, but he's just kind of left out to dry on the outside, and he's overtaken. He has a little look to try and go back for it again, but he won't get anything done. We kind of are just still stuck in this train here. The rest of the grid has kind of gone off up ahead. It's now a train of the 2 Aston Martins, the 2 Williams, and myself at the back of this grid. I mean, Alonso is way at the back of this grid, and I think another couple of cars may have come in as well because of damage, but yeah, this is kind of technically the back of the grid fight going on here, and I mean, it's cool having 5 cars all so close to each other, but ultimately there's not really a whole lot of fighting and overtaking going on. The other end of the spectrum, though, at the front of the grid, Carlos Sainz is leading his home Grand Prix. This must be very special for the Spaniard. He leads from his teammate Charles Leclerc behind, who's putting on a lot of pressure. Of course, Leclerc has really ramped it up this kind of second start of the season, I suppose. You know, he didn't have a great start to the season, that was Sainz, but Leclerc has won the previous 2 races in Imola and in Miami, so he's looking to make it another win here, but Sainz wants to get that home win. In front of us, the 2 Aston Martins are battling, and Vettel has managed to get his way past Stroll, so that's interesting here, and he'll kind of go off ahead with a bit of speed in front, and then Albon is now going to make a move on Stroll as well, so Stroll potentially looking a little bit slow here. These guys are about to go too wide through turn 1. We're just watching and waiting in the background. We get caught up with Stroll, give him a little bit of a nudge, give him another little bit of a nudge. Thankfully no damage there, but when we're going to get a better run through this corner, and we're just going to kind of tuck up and try and go to the inside of Stroll, we're going to get a good little overtaking maneuver done here up the inside around this long right hand corner. Latifi actually goes for a move on Stroll as well, so I think Stroll may be having potentially some issues here. I don't think I heard anything from my engineer, but he definitely seems slow. He's lost so many positions. He's lost like 4 positions in the space of half a lap there, so yeah, not good for Stroll. As once again up ahead here, my teammate is actually the driver now up ahead of me, battling with Sebastian Vettel. Valtteri Bottas just comes out of the pits there onto hard tyres, but those are of course going to be rather cold at the moment, and as Vettel and Lawson have a little bit of contact and a bit of fighting through turn 1, we are stuck behind Bottas, but I can tell that Bottas is slow on those cold hard tyres. And even though the Alfa Romeo is quite a bit quicker than us, we're going to dive up the inside because I know we've got the pace at the moment with those tyres of his being cold. And we're just going to try and follow through. But safety car is deployed. Lando Norris is out of the session. What has gone on there? We come to an absolute crawl here. And as we have a look at Lando Norris here, coming down turn 1, he just puts the power on a bit too much, spins the car around and goes into the wall. A similar crash to what we saw from Kevin Magnussen in Australia, although Magnussen managed to, well, he DNF'd from the race, but he didn't break his wheel. Norris absolutely obliterates the front left wheel there, and that brings out the safety car. We're now going to come into the pits, because it's pretty much our time to come into the pits anyway. Unfortunately, we end up having to double stack with Lawson. This was actually the lap that I was going to come into the pits, from what I remember. Yeah, Lawson, because of the safety car, also decided to come into the pits, and we do a double stack. I thought that was the better option than going 1 lap longer though, so that is what we've done. We're onto a set of hard tyres. The problem now is, though, you can see on the right there the red kind of delta thing flashing, and the catch safety car queue thing was also flashing as well, but for some reason it's not picked up that in the recording. But yeah, I've had the issue that I've seen multiple times before with other people, where the safety car has a glitch, and basically instead of getting you to catch up to the safety car, it just flashes and gets confused on the delta thing. So now the gaps are massive. The safety car has come in, but there's gaps everywhere. I really hope they fix this soon, because this is honestly a big game breaker. I mean, safety cars are one of the big things that change races, that mix up the races, and this just doesn't do it, because everybody ends up ridiculously spread out. Although literally just after the safety car ended, our teammate is now out of the race with a mechanical failure. It's the first mechanical failure of this team, of our team, Thankfully, it's not us that gets the failure, but it is Lawson, and that's really unfortunate for him because he was doing a really good job. He was in a great position. Like I said, at the start of the race, he managed to get up to like P12. I think he started like P17, P18, and he managed to get up to P12 at the start. Started dropping away later on, but it was looking like a decent race from my teammate, but unfortunately it's not to be, as into turn 1, after we let Alonso past, Albon outbrakes himself, and that gives us a position on Alex Albon. We've been staring at the back of him for the whole race so far, but on lap 22 we're going to make that move. As we now have a look at Fernando Alonso, he's still trying to make his way up the order after having to pit on lap 1. He's now going for a move round the outside of Sebastian Vettel. These guys battled it out a little bit in Miami as well, and this time it's an easy move for Fernando Alonso, who gets up into a higher position, but still not currently going to be scoring any points, I don't think. As now he's also having a look at Nicholas Latifi just up ahead as he goes for a move round the outside. A little bit of contact maybe between them, but it's side by side up this next corner, but Alonso gets the move stuck and is now into some free air to try and chase down the cars ahead. And as we continue on, we're still in this train. We've got Vettel right ahead of us, but we're hooked up right behind him at this point in time. We're actually looking at a move going to the outside of turn 1. Vettel goes a bit too deep. We're going to switch back, and then we're on the outside of turn 2. We're then going to be on the inside for turn 3. It's too wide between me and Sebastian Vettel. A great little battle going on here. That's Albon in the background looking around because Latifi's ahead of us. Thanks to that safety car, he managed to jump us in the pit stop phase, but we've got the move done on Vettel, and that is another position for us and ahead of an Aston Martin, which is always good. Looking further up the grid, like I said, well, I think actually Charles Leclerc is now leading the way because the safety car kind of screwed over Carlos Sainz, so now Leclerc leads the way, unfortunately, for the home hero. Sainz now in second place. You can just see him ahead of this group, so he's lost a lot of time. Hamilton is sitting in third with Verstappen in 4th, so there's still that battle between Verstappen and Hamilton going on. Between Mercedes and Red Bull, those two teams have definitely closed into each other a lot at this point in the series. As now we're looking at a move on Nicholas Latifi. He's kind of the last driver we look to make a move on, but he locks up into the next corner off the middle straight, and it's a much easier move than I was expecting there, but we're up into P13 now, and I don't think we're going to be getting any more positions. A bit of an annoying thing here, I mean, I said before that McLaren, it's almost inevitable that they were going to overtake us eventually in the Constructors' Championship because they are on a higher, better upward trajectory than we are at the moment. And sure enough, even though Lando Norris was out of the race, Daniel Ricciardo is sitting in 7th place, and he's going to secure 6 points for McLaren, which is going to move them ahead of us in the Constructors' Championship. We end up on the second to last lap, actually finishing the race here because we were lapped by Charles Leclerc, thanks to that whole safety car fiasco. So we're going to finish the race 1 lap less, which is the first time I've had that happen in this game so far. First time we've been properly lapped, but it's P13 for us. Not terrible from the back of the grid. Wasn't the most exciting race in the world, I'm going to be honest, but yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
They've done it then. A spectacular victory here in Spain and a massive confidence boost going into the next race. So, Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today and a stunning win for Ferrari.
So Charles Leclerc makes it 3 in a row by winning the Spanish Grand Prix. Home hero Carlos Sainz can only manage 2nd in the end, kind of screwed over by the safety car. And Lewis Hamilton comes home for another P3 podium finish. He's beating Verstappen to that podium. He's beating Red Bull. Mercedes are beating Red Bull to that podium, and potentially now, well, I think they are kind of increasing their their gap, decreasing their gap on Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship as well. Although at the moment Ferrari are very much running away with it, with another 1-2 finish here. Like I said, we finished P13, so it's a decent result from us for P22, but ultimately wasn't the most exciting race in the world, and very unfortunate for my teammate DNFing. Leclerc moves up to second in the championship now. He is very much hunting down his teammate. A few other changes there as well. Mick Schumacher up to P8. Daniel Ricciardo moves up to P12. We're down to P14 because of Ricciardo moving up. And a few other little changes here and there down the bottom of the grid. But yeah, Constructors' Championship, no changes apart from McLaren take P8 from us. We are now down to P9. So unfortunate there, but it was kind of inevitable. It was going to come eventually, and this is the time when it's come. And like I said, pretty sure Mercedes are they're catching up to Red Bull, so that's going to be interesting for the rest of this season. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.